The wife of California Governor Gavin Newsom took the stand Monday at Harvey Weinstein's sexual assault trial in Los Angeles. Filmmaker Jennifer Siebel Newsom is now the fourth woman to testify against the movie mogul. CBS News correspondent Carter Evans joins us now from Los Angeles.
Well, this was an interesting development because the alleged victims in this case are listed as Jane Doe, and Jennifer Siebel Newsom was listed as Jane Doe number 4. So it was only recently reported that she was one of these alleged victims. She entered with a very large entourage today in the courtroom. When the prosecutor asked her to identify Weinstein in the courtroom, she pointed at him, she wiped away tears, and she said, "He's staring right at me."
Discussing details from the courtroom there with Jennifer Siebel Newsom, as they pointed out, wife of California Governor Gavin Newsom. She apparently was Jane Doe number 4 in these accusations against Harvey Weinstein. So, of course, as most defense attorneys, I guess, if they take on a case like this would do, they said the sex was absolutely consensual. There's some disgusting details, again, of graphic nature. Defense attorney Mark Worksman said in his opening statement on October 24th that Siebel Newsom had consensual sex with Weinstein because she wanted his help in getting roles and producing films. How about this disgusting part? This is what he said. She's made herself a prominent victim in the Me Too movement. Otherwise, she'd be just another bimbo who slept with Harvey Weinstein to get ahead in Hollywood. That's what the attorney said. Because there's nothing like getting the jury on your side by saying things like that about one of these victims who comes with these types of details. So there was a constant theme that went with Harvey Weinstein and his victims, which also this victim pointed out as well. She described him as uninterested in hearing about her projects once he invited her up to the hotel room like he did with many of his other victims. He abruptly got up and said, "I'm going to get more comfortable." According to her testimony, Weinstein was down a hallway, bent over while wearing a robe, and he says, "Can you help me?" He was aggressive and she tried to back away, is what she said. Weinstein softened his approach then, is what she testified, but eventually he carried her, dragged her into the bedroom, and then he raped her. There was more other details about what happened there that we don't need to talk about because we can understand it was disgusting and it was a violation and it was an absolute crime. So that continued on, but then the defense attorney still looking to demean, maybe scare her into hushing up, or maybe anyone else from speaking up, as he then asked her to recreate some of these moments from the assault for the courtroom to see and hear. Jennifer Siebel Newsom, wife of California Governor Gavin Newsom, as we've already seen here, became visibly appalled when asked to recreate how she faked an orgasm on the stand as she gave evidence during the sexual assault trial there. She fired back and said, "This is not when Harry met Sally. I'm not doing that." And she then broke down into tears saying, "I was making noises to get him to finish. He had already raped me. This is so gross. I'm sorry." Apologies to you guys for these details. But I think a lot of times people imagine assaults, sexual assaults like this and go, "Well, that's what she wanted." We did a story last week of this incel who called the cops on himself to talk about how he's stalking this woman and that she actually wants it, even though she said no and left and ran and told her father about it. There's these thought processes that some people have. Apparently this attorney trying to get his client off the hook on this one, who said, "Well, she must have wanted it." That's always the defense, because in their mind, that's what they're imagining. That's their fantasy. And maybe she was jumping onto that and going, "Maybe he'll just leave me alone now." They don't imagine themselves in these situations. Because if they did, they wouldn't just be talking about, "Oh, she's just another bimbo." Because they can separate themselves from it. If you can say that with a straight face and think that's any kind of way of going about this, you're one of these types of people. Let's keep it real, Jeff.
So yeah, I'm glad you just said that, because they wouldn't use the term bimbo for Weinstein. They wouldn't say that. So let's acknowledge the bravery of Jennifer Siebel Newsom, because she knows what's going to happen merely putting her name out there outside of Jane Doe. She knows what's going to happen when they take the stand. Like you said earlier, Jayar, she either wanted it or she was trying to further her career, or what took you so long to say something? That must be an indication that you must be lying and he's telling the truth. Never mind the fact that there are so many women who are saying the same thing, even if it was just one woman, really. Like, I'm not saying that because they're saying it must be true. I'm saying that in a country such as ours, that we're going to lean towards Harvey as opposed to with the women in this case. And so if it's an indication of her trying to further her career, why is that being said about him and his career?
Trying to get more people on board, right? I mean, maybe talented folks in the business, but he's trying to further his career. Well, he was already ahead of the game, and that's why he felt he could do these things. It's again, it's the thought process they have is, well, this was a sexual encounter, and it's all about consensual, enjoyable sex. In many cases, it's about power, and it's about control, and it's about dominance, and it's about hurting someone. And apparently, it's just something to continue going around. By the way, really fast, Graphicgate, just to point out what he is already facing, what he's looking at, and the fact this is Jane Doe number 4. He was found guilty in 2020 in New York of first-degree criminal sexual act and third-degree rape, and he was sentenced to 23 years in prison. Since then, he's maintained his innocence, and New York's highest court agreed in August to hear his appeal in that case. Sure, bro, have at it. It's the system.